everybody. Welcome in. It's time for your favorite, my favorite, everybody's favorite, Three Guys Before the Game. This is episode number 502, and it is titled BYU Blowout. Whoa. Who saw that coming? If you say you did, I say you're a fibber.
Oddsmaker.
They didn't have it. They didn't have it like 30 points.
Well, the oddsmakers would never make it.
Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. Certainly.
Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. That's a quarter of a century. Three Guys brought to us by GoMart. Get that rewards card in your pocket and get your opportunity to get triple rewards points on Tuesdays in the month of November and December. How do you get that card? Well, go to the website, gomart.com, or just get the GoMart app, which I have on my phone. Oh yeah. gomart.com. Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun, and they do it really, really well. Again, voted as the best in the Valley and the best in the tri-state area. So give those guys an attaboy. Congratulations to Lou Wendell Marine Sales. We'll talk about that Tri-Tune special that they've got going, the Three Guys special boat, coming up in just a little bit. Someone attacked me about that on our last episode.
Really?
Yeah, they said when we were saying what you could do on that craft that I didn't bring up fishing. So they said, obviously, Tony's not a fisherman. I'll just tell you this. Yes, I am. I've slayed a lot of fish. I went down the New River one time, smallmouth fishing, caught more fish than an apostle. Boat damn near tipped over. I could do it on that Tri-Tune. I'll just tell you that.
Did you have a license?
I don't think you needed one. No, we were on it was a guided thing. I don't think you needed one.
Really?
They didn't bring it up. If they did, we paid. I don't know. We were legal. It was an outfit.
Okay. Statute of limitations is expired,
Yeah,
so you're okay.
And plus, we don't keep them. You throw them back in.
Oh,
so all I did was damage some lips.
Oh.
Three Guys also brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. Spreads on Stats coming up. Brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. By the way, speaking of lips that are sore, a member of the Mountaineer assistant coaching staff in football got a sore mouth this morning. Matt Moore, he got caught in the fire on the sideline there. Play came over last night, and he took one right in the kisser.
Oh,
I talked to Wyatt Milam there in post game, and he said he was standing right next to Matt. He said, turned around. Oh, Coach Moore had a bloody mouth.
Oh my,
that's a game, physical game, and last night's game was extremely physical. Whoa. There was some popping going on there, and West Virginia was doing a lot of the popping. You know, we've been on both sides of that this season. We had our situations, Aubrey Burks and Trey Lathan at TCU, and the card has to come out. And in back-to-back plays last night with BYU, two of the receivers were hit and extremely hard. And it just, again, continues to show, you know, what a physical game it is. I think oftentimes people don't, we don't fully appreciate how dangerous it is and how fast it happens, because on the Beanie Bishop hit on Cody Epps, their receiver who wore 0, so it was just it was just in play, but his helmet, it looked to me, came up and hit him in the chin, and that's all it takes sometimes to take someone, and, you know, looked as though he may have been knocked out.
I was shocked, I tell you, that he came back in the game.
Well, he didn't, but Roberts too.
Oh, that's Roberts?
0 stayed out.
Okay.
2 did. Chase Roberts coming back. They're number 2.
His helmet got knocked off into the face plant, and it was woozy. I was shocked he came back in the game.
Yeah, that was a mind blower. That was a mind blower. Anyway, let's get into this thing. What do we take away from the game? We've got that coming. Spreads on Stats. What are the early grades in with some of the precincts reporting? As we say, these grades mature as the week goes on, but we'll get the initial blast from what the Pro Football Focus people are grading this to be. Textual healing is coming up as well. Got some controversy going on in there. So we'll deal with that. Well, some people are sending stuff in through artificial intelligence, and some people, we might have to, very few policies exist on this program. We may
more guidelines.
We have guidelines. We may have to put one on there. Yeah. Okay, let's jump in. Hoppy, let's start with you. What is your takeaway from the game?
Like a true Mountaineer fan, I was worried to death because everything was favoring West Virginia going into the game. Favored by 10, then by 13. The backup quarterback is in there. They traveled halfway across the continent twice to play the game. And I thought, oh, no, this is exactly where you don't want to be. And then West Virginia turns in its most complete performance of the year, Brad, in all three phases of the game, dominates the game from start to finish. And for a change, Mountaineer Nation got to be giddy and not be sweating by halftime as to what was going to happen. And you know what that gives you? That gives you joy. That gives you joy. You love to win. You lament the losses, but it's also nice sometimes just to blow somebody out and relax and enjoy the game and enjoy the way the Mountaineers played and say, that was fun, and that was fun.
All well said. Agree with all of that. You know, your thoughts are shaped by your past experiences.
Yes.
And I understand why everybody was antsy. But the flip side of the coin of that story was, you just said it, they were playing with a backup quarterback for an offense that had struggled all year. His first time in a big-time situation. They just had 2 monster travel weeks. They were struggling as it was. All of those worked in West Virginia's favor.
Yes.
The storylines were obvious and right in front of you. The odds makers knew it, put the line where they did, and it still wasn't enough. And I think you said that well. I think this team, this program, fan base deserved a game like that where you just
Yes.
line up, you march right down on the field, and there wasn't a single second in that game where you were worried or
Right.
tense or uncomfortable that was going to be a game. It was just one of those nice, you can sit back, you can cheer, you know you've got to win, you put it in the can, and you move on to the next one. Great performance all the way around.
Yeah, to your point, Hoppy, I mean, there's some post-traumatic stress situations that West Virginia football has, and so you're right. The Texas Tech game, when they came in here and had a bunch of players out, and you thought, well, here's our day, and they boat raced you. And so, yeah, and to be quite honest with you, even at halftime, when things were going swimmingly, like we kind of looked at we looked at each other in the booth and go like, I don't know how to act. Don't know how to act.
Kirchville during our broadcast wanted points on every possession, and when they didn't get like, oh, I don't know, they didn't score.
Here comes the ball rolling.
End of the half, 5 seconds to go. We're getting texts. He's getting nervous. Right, you got to go. You got to get a touchdown here. You got to have a touch. We need a touchdown. There's 5 seconds left. Get a touchdown. You need a touchdown. Just take the points. They're not coming back.
Yeah.
This thing's over.
You
know what that is, though? Here's what happens. Here's what happens, guys.
That is not analytical.
We remember the Jet Duffys.
Right.
We remember the Texas Tech coming in here with injured guys.
Henry Colombi.
It's just like sports betting. You always want to come in and you talk about your bad beat. You listen to how I got screwed on this and how I got beat, and you can remember every moment of the bad beats. And what you don't go around and talk about is, I'll tell you what, that one worked in my favor. I cashed that ticket. Sure. You don't do that. So we don't remember Will Howard coming in here as a true freshman, or as maybe he's a redshirt freshman, throwing 3 picks. Kansas State never in that game. You ran away with it. This will be another one of those. We won't talk about this one or remember this one because the backup quarterback didn't do anything, and he was fine. They had other issues there, but he didn't turn into Jet Duffy, right? And you got the win, and it was an easy win. So you'll kind of forget this the next time a backup comes up, and we'll go back to doing, oh my God, they got a backup in. I don't know if you can handle it.
Right.
The backup wasn't bad, by the way.
No, he'll be
fine.
okay. Yeah, he'll be okay. He'll make plays for him. This has a similarity, and to use the Utah connection on this, we were in a similar situation when we played Utah in that bowl game, right? We came in decimated with injuries. We just didn't have the personnel that you need to perform, and we got thrown around like a rag doll. And a couple of observations. That was just our night last night. It wasn't their night. They were so shorthanded. They had lost 2 really big-time players at receiver before the game even started. Keanu Hill and Darius Lassiter were gone before the game started. Then they lose 0 Epps, and that certainly is a blow. By the end of the second
Had a running back that was out.
Running back is out. L.J. Martin never played. And then they started to play guys that had not played yet this season. There was a player, JoJo Phillips, I think his name was, who wore 13, got in the second half because they literally were out of guys. So that kind of stuff happens, and that's just sport. And you don't apologize when it happens. You just kind of move on, knowing that it can very well happen to you at any time. So you just take it, you put it in your pocket. So what's the takeaway from this game? Where are you? You are 6 wins on the season. You're already over what you did last year with 3 games to play, and now you are bowl eligible, so you have 4 games to play. So there is still a lot of opportunity here for this Mountaineer football team. And we head into the final 3 games in a fun mode. And I say fun because it's fun to watch this team. We are seeing young guys starting to make their way, and it's encouraging to know that they're coming, and it's encouraging to know, fingers crossed, that they stay, because you've got a nice foundation that you're building with the Jaheim Whites, the Traylon Rays, the Rodney Gallaghers, among a bunch of other guys. So it's all
Ben
there.
Cutter.
Ben Cutter.
There's a lot of freshmen making an impact.
They're making plays. And I'm a firm believer in this. If you're a baby and you're making big boy plays as a baby player, you're going to be a really good player. And so these guys are making plays, which is very encouraging. So that's kind of like the big picture thing. And now you take it game by game and you see how you can end this.
Tony, let me go to expand on the big picture thing. And we talk about that, that as you guys pointed out, that BYU had a lot of problems. But West Virginia didn't go in and make it harder on themselves. They didn't turn the ball over. They played, again, their most complete game. So they could have gone ugly on the thing. And you could have gone and okay, you just won by a score or something like that because you didn't play well, or you didn't have the same energy for some reason, or you turned the ball over or something. And they didn't do that.
No.
They played efficiently and effectively. That's why they beat them 37-7, because they played well.
That was good coaching in the sense that Neal got burned at the Houston game because he gave those guys – he didn't realize they were not mature enough to properly put things into perspective. And when they came off the bye week, he still regrets that he didn't bang them earlier in the week because he was trying to get their bodies back so that they could go play, and they didn't play. They were listless, and they didn't get it. Well, last night, he sold them on they haven't lost in November since 2019, and they were 21-1 in their last 22 night games. Like a face tattoo. Like he would not let it go. He just kept banging them and banging them and banging them. And they were ready to go.
Yeah.
The crowd was really good. It was exactly what you needed.
I'll echo what I've been saying now for a number of weeks, and that little story there backs this up. This staff has done an unbelievable job of rallying these guys, getting them to listen to what they're saying, to whatever the message is that week, getting that through. Then credit the guys on the team for, one, listening to that, then executing it, and continuing to shut everything out and going to play. This team's unbelievable, and I know people may be sick of hearing it, but you got to keep saying it. The ridiculous pick of 14th in the poll just continues to be one of those groupthink things that makes your head spin. That narrative got way out of control, and a bunch of people that don't cover this team jumped on board that narrative because they read a couple things in some preseason magazines that were just simply fabricated. Just absolutely not right. That's one of the worst jobs of analyzing that I've seen. That was simply just piling on top of a team and a program because there was a narrative that was built without really looking into it. As we said in the summer, if there was a bet that could have said West Virginia's not going to finish 14th in this league, I think we all would have lined up and get it. I said I would have put a lot of money on that. Mm-hmm. So that's coming to fruition. So credit to that group again for being able to come through. Here's the other part. Guys, this team is a Hail Mary away from sitting in first place in this league with 3 games to go.
So you had to go there and bring that up to make everyone mad.
And I know it's maddening for everybody, but a Hail Mary completion is what's standing between you and first place. And then your one loss would have been to another team that's in first place and as hot as any team in the country in Oklahoma State. So I think that just, more than being bummed out by that, it just backs up what a tremendous job those players and coaches have done getting this team to this point. Now, still work to do. You've got a very difficult opponent coming up Saturday. We know that. And then you're going to be favored in your final 2 games. So you still got some things in front of you here.
No question. It's fun. All right? It's fun. We're going to get into that more. We'll get the stats and see what the grades are coming out early on. We do have a game time now for next Saturday. And, you love to go on the road and get that 11 a.m. Central start. Not going to happen. West Virginia is going to be on Big Fox for the second straight Saturday night as they take on the Oklahoma Sooners, where Oklahoma's head is after its loss in Bedlam remains to be seen, and you take your swing there. Obviously, the last time West Virginia was there, they were an inside the 5-yard procedure penalty and a snap that really determined the outcome of that game, so they were there. And where's Oklahoma's head? Who knows, right? I know where West Virginia's head is, I would think. Let's go. Let's go ball. This is one of those playing with house money games you go into. You're not favored to win, and you just go in there and you take your shot.
You're also, we're going to talk about this later in the week, but you're also going to face the most proficient offense in the league.
Really good.
With Quinn Ewers out at Texas, this is the best offense you're going to face and the best quarterback you're going to face.
No question about it. No question about it. And Drake Stoops just caught another pass. Did they go to Drake Stoops a little bit? You guys, I'm sure, were watching that yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, why can't you put 6 guys around Drake Stoops?
He caught the last. No, he dropped the last pass.
Well, yeah, it was like, wow, he's doing whatever he wants, and he's had big games against West Virginia. But that's for Thursday.
Get ahead of
Oklahoma, you're right what you said, Hoppy, and that's always the challenge with them is they'll come in with a good line. Gabriel's really good. He's a difference maker when he's in that offense, and they always have receivers and skill, so that's going to be a real challenge. But they're also sitting back, guys, and they've played SMU, Tulsa, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Texas, UCF, Kansas with a backup quarterback, and Oklahoma State. They're looking across this West Virginia offense saying, well, I'll tell you what. Yeah. We're getting a West Virginia offense that's run for 622 yards in the last 2 games. You better line up and try and stop the run. You got a quarterback that's mobile and can run. You got a quarterback that can throw. This team's putting up nearly 40 a game over the last 3. So this is one of those, you don't need to sit here and panic about what Oklahoma's given you, but they've also got to pay attention to what you're bringing to Norman next week on the offensive side.
And on the offensive side,
Doug Nestor probably returns. Yeah. Tony, that's a huge addition. Yeah. You get that line back intact for the first time since the first 12 plays of the UCF game.
And we were on that run game, we were talking last night in our coverage, we were talking about Jaheim White, and I was giving Jaheim White a lot of credit, which he deserves for breaking tackles and getting to the edge.
He was electric.
He was, and then Brad, you pointed out, but look at the gaps too. The offensive line was outside. I don't know what the grades are. You'll really tell us, but it seemed like they were opening huge holes last night. And then White did the rest.
Yeah, so White was so good, and we'll get into him. I got some numbers and
Deuce
spreads
White.
on stats.
Deuce White.
Yeah, that's what he reminds me of, the Deuce Vaughn. He's very similar to
where's 22
to that. Compact, shifty, can speed you out on the outside, can pop inside and make a cut. That one time they got him on the toss sweep, and he's out there. I forget who the lineman was. He's got it. That was old school. Hand on the running back there, direct it right hand, or hand on the lineman there. You got the ball. You're moving downfield. He was really good. CJ back to looking like the CJ of last year, 2 straight games, running hard, running downhill. Here's the other part of that, though. Neal again continues, and we've talked about this a bunch. When you trust this team not to turn it over, which they didn't again, the playbook continues to expand, right? That first play to Rodney Gallagher on the jet sweep. Then they run Gallagher in motion again and do the 360 handoff by Garrett Green. That was awesome. Then they ran it and ran the counter back the other way. Then they ran it a third time, motion, and give it to White around the left side every time that play worked. So the same action. Steve Dunlap during our coverage was just giggling at poor BYU, saying those poor linebackers have no idea what's happening with the ball there. Same action, running the same motion, and you run 3 different plays. There might have been more than that, but those are 3 that stand out. 3 different plays. That running game is really clicking personnel-wise, scheme-wise, play-calling-wise.
I was talking to him Friday, and what you're talking about is that counter, right? He says, that's wing T football. That's what that is. That's old wing T football is what that is.
But
out of a gun.
You window dress that thing up like the turn by Garrett. That's not just your normal handoff counter. No. He's spinning all the way around, so the ball's disappearing for a minute. They don't know where it is. Is he keeping it? Because his ability to run, which good decisions last night, just didn't need him to run last night, so you don't take the chance of him getting hurt. But when he's spinning like that's more confusion in a game that's going really fast. A guy's coming at you to block, and you're trying to see where the ball is, and then all of a sudden Jaheim White shoots out of there. That's tough to stop, boys.
So West Virginia on the evening runs the football for 336 yards. That is the 12th consecutive game that West Virginia has run for over 140 yards, which leads the nation.
Tony, by the way, stat, when you run the ball, when West Virginia runs the ball for 346 yards, they win 100% of the time.
They're undefeated all the time. But the point I want to make is this. Let's take a really deep breath, okay? When this group got here now 5 years ago, I have said it a bunch of times that the roster was just not right. And they had to do a complete rebuild of this offensive line. And if you remember, and you can go back and listen to past episodes, we would sit in here and say, do you think they can get 100 yards?
Mm-hmm.
And if they got 100 yards, we would be like, whoa, they got 100 yards. Okay. And there was a lot of criticism of this staff, and there was a lot of criticism of the offensive line and criticism of Matt Moore. And to their credit, they have retooled this offensive line. They have molded this group, and now they are running the football. It's not that they didn't know how to do it when they got here. They didn't take some summer courses of how to run the football. They know how to run the football. You have to have players, and you have to have experience. And what you're seeing is the harvest of the Wyatt Milums, the Zach Frazier's, the Doug Nestors, the Brandon Yateses, and fill in the rest of the holes.
The Nick Malone coming in.
Nick Malone, depth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then last night late, you had a little Sullivan Weedman got in there. He threw a key block in the first half. He's one of the babies that they're really high on.
Mm-hmm.
And so my point to all this is this. These guys know how to coach. It's taken a while to finally get the personnel in to get these plays, right? They know what they're doing, but that roster, when they got here, was, as I've said, there was one NFL player that he inherited. The lowest number in 40-plus years that any previous coach, Nealon, Rich, Stu, and Dana inherited. They all inherited 7 to 8 to 9 guys that would go on in their first 3 years when those coaches took over that would be drafted in the NFL. Neal got one guy, Colt McKivitz. Tony Fields did go, but Neal brought him in. So this was a scratch start. And so now, fingers crossed, that this thing continues to build. I think it's huge. It's a huge moment to look back on it and just say, it's always the players. It took them a while to get the players. But Neal was regarded as one of the lead offensive play callers in the country when he took this job. That's why we were excited. Now you're seeing what he can do.
You're seeing it, and yes. So first and foremost, and here's the other message that we need to remember as we move through future years. You're also, you know what, guys, allowed to mature, get better, and improve over your time here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that possible, or what you are in your first game here is how you have to remain? So that offensive line as a group, Zach Frazier having to play as a true freshman. We've used this stat a million times. The first true freshman to start on the offensive line in over 40 years when he did it. Then you turned around a year later or 2 years later and had Wyatt Milum do the same exact thing. That speaks to the lack of depth along the line. And those guys had to get that experience. And we talked about, you saw that with the John Beeline team, right? With those 5 guys came in and got their teeth kicked in early. But guess what? By the time they were seniors, what'd they do? They're a basket away from the Final Four as juniors, and then seniors made that Sweet 16 run. So that happens. Guys grew up. Garrett Green, no better example than what he has been able to do. His role has changed each year that he's been here. Now he's operating at an extremely high level. We went through his numbers on Thursday. I'll continue to say this. He's not just a productive, good starter for this team. He's playing at an all-conference type of level. He has had an unbelievable year. And you combine that line that is really clicking with Garrett Green that's playing well, Jaheim White emerging along with C.J. Donaldson, and that allows now Neal, that's why I keep bringing it up every week, it allows Neal to expand and open the playbook that you haven't been able to do in past years. You just haven't had, the personnel wasn't ready to take on all of those different shifts and motions and different play calls out of the set. Now you're seeing all of that come together. Yeah. Sometimes that takes time to get the personnel and everything to match up to what you're able to do, and you're seeing it. You're seeing it. And this one, though, as we mentioned earlier, I think you got to keep this in mind, too. This is a really good combination of experience and mature guys combined with some really young players. I mean, that's the other thing. If you were doing this ideally, you wouldn't have Jaheim White as a true freshman having this impact. You wouldn't be playing Ray and Gallagher so much. You are. So that speaks even more. I think it's even more impressive to be able to mix those young guys in and get contributions.
Yeah, because now you're seeing a Traylon Ray and an E.J. Horton and a Gallagher. Now you're seeing them become contributors.
Absolutely right. Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems. What do you need if you're a business owner? I mean, tell me what you need. You need equipment? Got it. They got every piece of equipment you can buy, and we've told you in the past, if you need to, you can call them, and they'll look way in the back in their warehouse, see if they got a fax machine. But other than that, they got everything else. And they also offer you complete IT services, which would include remote monitoring. They can come into your business, give you a full look at what you guys have in your network system to let you know where you're vulnerable, perhaps, to some data entry and some scary stuff. Or when it comes to phone systems, from 1 line to 1,000 lines, Comax Business Systems has you covered. Let them come in. They'll give you a price quote for absolutely free. Check them out, comaxwv.com. You guys ready?
Sure.
You guys ready? Senator, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Later on in the program, there's a text that came in regarding your glasses. People are noticing a lot of stuff there. Did you bring them?
No, he just hasn't.
You did bring them.
Adds to his credibility.
Just go right to the numbers. Here comes a heater.
When he puts his glasses on, it's a sign like, pay attention.
Portion of the show.
Ready? So sometimes I just can't read what I'm about to say. One of those two things.
Spreads on Stats is brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. What do they do? Complete service, public accounting, and consulting. Clients throughout the great state of West Virginia and surrounding states. Been in business since 1985, providing you with value beyond the numbers. So much more than the numbers. They take a client approach to what you need. What's your challenge? You can tell them, they got you figured out. They can remove the stress, the time associated with all of your business number stuff. So many people that I know that are in business, they go, you know, man, if I could just do my business, what I'm specialized, I don't need to do all this. This other stuff bogs me down. Visit the Conley CPA Group. By the way, I think we got a lunch date scheduled with them.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Excellent.
They'll come in. They'll come in and have lunch.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you be nice to them?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
that
I
is,
mean,
you
just,
know,
I don't know.
that isn't get labeled that way. It's really not fair. You son of a.
All right. What's the early reporting, Senator, on the game last night?
Let's do a couple reviews here first and foremost. You know, I want to thank BYU, first of all.
Thanks for coming.
Well, you could say thanks for coming, but no, because they didn't release, well, and I don't think they ever released it. It was uncovered about the quarterback switch. Didn't come till late Thursday night, which I know put the West Virginia staff in a bind trying to figure out and
Right.
stuff. But it helped this podcast. Well, we had all those Keaton Slovis numbers on Thursday, and had they released that early, we wouldn't have had a show. They would drop that there, wouldn't have had a show.
Empty show.
Had 6 hours of Keaton Slovis pressure information that wouldn't have been able to use had they announced that earlier in the week. So thank you.
When their SID came in the booth, and by the way, thanks to their SID, first SID, that's Sports Information Director. They're the people that take care of the media and stuff. First SID to come in our booth this year.
Really? Well done.
Lost art.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they
Lost
always
art.
came in.
Well, old school, yeah. WVU, Mike Montoro, he does. He goes to every guy's booth. That's why he's beloved. That's why those guys get awards. This BYU's SID came in. First guy this year to come in and go, hey, can I help you out? You got the names? And I said, so it's like about 25 minutes before kick. I said, you guys ready to go with the Slovis thing yet? He goes, yeah, he's out. I said, okay, what else? Who's out? And so they had, obviously, they had a bunch of guys.
Well, thank you to them because
Yes.
it allowed us to have a show last Thursday. So let's kind of start right there because if you remember back to Thursday, the reason that was so heavily talked about was I thought West Virginia could get a lot of pressure, Hoppy, on Slovis. And
Right.
there were a ton of numbers that would indicate offensive line-wise and quarterback-wise that was going to be a good matchup. Well, it didn't matter last night. I thought Retzloff did a nice job of avoiding pressure at times, extending play, getting outside. He had a couple runs early in that game. But at the end of the day, West Virginia's pressure was really good because why? Why does pressure always come, Hoppy? What's the key stat there?
Well, because it's third and long,
Havoc.
second and long.
Yeah,
they can't. They got to pass because they can't run.
Can't run. There it is. Cougars couldn't run it last night, just 67 yards on the night. And that's been their story all year. They were down around 81 yards per game rushing. That continued. So you start with that. Shut off the run. They've got to go to pass. And the other part last night, they were behind. So they're going to drop back and pass. So what does that do, guys, when opponents can't run it and or they're behind and have to throw it a bunch? Leads to a lot of passing downs, right? And when teams are in passing downs, we've gone through this, When they are a lot, West Virginia wins. When they're not, West Virginia loses. So last night's another example. Those numbers that you're looking for, above 30% passing downs, West Virginia's going to win its games. That's been the stat this year. BYU faced passing downs on 35% of its plays last night. So you knew they were coming. Lee Koba had pressures. Lockhart had pressures. Hammond Russell got credited with some pressures. So the entire defense did a nice job of creating some havoc there in the defensive backfield, getting some sacks, some TFLs, and then the other havoc stat that I'll get to in a minute is some pass breakups. We said last Thursday that Sean Martin was a guy to watch. He should be able to get some pressure with the matchup that he was getting. He did. He added 2 more pressures and was in the backfield a bunch even when he wasn't credited. So Sean Martin came through in that matchup that we highlighted. Hoppy,
yes.
When West Virginia gets pressure, does that help the defensive backs, you think? Do they look a little bit better?
The defensive backs look much better when there's pressure on the quarterback, Brad.
I'd go with that, too.
They were great. Beanie, 5 pass breakups.
Already leads the nation in that category.
Tremendous. One point here. We talked about the first down, the potential for a first down interception in this game.
Oh, yes.
Beanie had it in his hands on first down. It would have been a tough interception because the receiver was right there, but he was in better position than the receiver, had it right in his hands. The collision knocked it up, popped in the air. Aubrey Burks almost had a second swipe at it. That came on first down. So they didn't come to fruition. We were right there.
You know, you gave me that on Thursday, and I had him on Thursday night and interviewed him on Thursday. I let him know that. I said, I don't know if you know this, but you're really good on first down. Maybe I planted the seed. Maybe he was sniffing even harder on first down.
Other part of that we mentioned, the running game was absolutely dominating last night, 7 yards per rush. Here's another metric. Rushing success rate measures the percentage of successful runs based on yards needed and adjusted for down. Okay? So just like it sounds, success rate, rushing success rate. 50% or above is considered above average. West Virginia was 60% last night. So one of those stats, you didn't need that to tell you West Virginia ran it well, but they did. Numbers backed it up. White, we mentioned, 146 yards, 9.1 yards per carry. He had a 55% breakaway percentage. So what that means is 55% of his total rushing yards came on runs of 15 yards or more. So he was a big play guy. 55% is a nice breakaway number for that. CJ was CJ for the second straight week, 100 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 7 rushing first downs gained. He was heavy left-handed, as they like to do with CJ. Very successful there. Another matchup we talked about last Thursday of keeping an eye on was Nick Malone in at right tackle for the injured Doug Nestor.
Yeah.
BYU had a really strong rush from the left side.
Yeah.
Solid effort again by Nick Malone, the second best pass blocking grade among the starting offensive linemen for Malone. Wow. So neutralized their very good left side rush.
He's from right over the high school, huh?
Yep. Yeah, the high school.
Yeah.
Brad, I know it's
hey, Brad, on Donaldson, in Donaldson, a couple times he got yards. It was a big third or fourth down play.
Fourth down, big play.
And he's got himself.
We call that honking. He honked it up in there.
Yeah, that was all.
That was him. Yeah. That was all him.
Yes, it was.
And this isn't a surprise because they're generally short yardage situations, but 91% of CJ's fourth down rushing yards come after contact. You saw it right there. Yeah. I mean, he was hit behind the line of scrimmage, powered through that to get the first down. That was big. That was big. He was very physical.
Really happy for him the last 2 weeks.
Anybody particular you want to know? Jaheim White, highest graded offensive player, probably not a surprise there.
How did Green?
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask.
How did who?
Green.
Great. 4th highest graded offensive player. Nico was actually 2nd in his limited snaps. He graded out really well. So it went White, Nico, Frazier, Green, Stedman, Preston, Fox. Had another very good game. Hubbard was up there.
Stedman
Fox. Whoa. Who?
Stedman Fox.
I don't have him on my roster.
Yeah, related to Pac-Man Fox. So he's Pac-Man Fox when he returns punts. He's been so valuable. He's turning into Stedman Fox in honor of Stedman Bailey when he's a receiver, just making plays.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Someone threw another one at us. We'll get into a textual healing. Okay. I think this might take off of putting past players' names on current players and using alliteration. It's starting to take off.
Brad started. It was
you did. It's all you.
Great addition.
It's all you.
Yeah.
Burks and Koba, the 2 highest graded defensive players. Anthony Wilson and Beanie were right up there too. Excuse me. I thought Anthony Wilson was a missile at times. Was he not?
Yeah, he was. He played really hard. Played really well.
How about Ben Cutter for the 2nd straight game? Highest graded defender coming out of UCF. Top 5 here. Top 6 in this particular game. Starting to play.
Second half, he read that. What was that? I'm trying to remember what it was. Little dump pass out in the flat.
He came out. He was
Kneecap
a
dude.
rocket.
Yeah.
He was, Tony, if you were watching in person, you're watching on TV, he's not in the screen. And then all of a sudden.
Yeah, that was the Anthony Wilson one you're talking
Anthony
about
Wilson
there.
one,
Yes.
he's a blur.
Yeah.
Just a blur coming in. What about Michael Hayes? You got a grade for Michael Hayes?
On the one you're talking about there, that was that pass in the flat. Wilson literally was not in the television picture. You could see, and he just flies through the screen, makes the tackle. He was excellent.
Yeah.
Hayes was great. Yeah, Hayes was great. No question.
Well, does PFF, how do they rank, how do they grade kickers?
Here's a grade 11 of 12 or 12 of 13. What is he now?
Yeah, they don't necessarily give you a grade. They just list the stats there.
Hayes and Beanie are they the top 2 off-season acquisitions in the free agent market?
I mean, I know. I talk
based
about
on
this,
productivity.
Yeah, they've both been
I mean,
very
every
good.
week, but I mean, Hayes is just he's become automatic. And look, he had a long one, and then a couple tough angle ones.
Do you realize his only miss this season
It was a 50-yarder, right?
came after? Yes, he made it though. You remember he made the kick at TCU, but it got waved off by a penalty. They brought it back 5 yards. He missed it after they brought it back the extra 5 yards.
Geez.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have missed.
Here's another observation. You know, Lee Koba's good whether you have 10 returning starters on defense, whether you have one, whether you're playing with 4 defenders or 15. It doesn't matter. Lee Koba's really good, right? We know that. But I think it's important to note, especially these last 2 games as we've talked about this, Koba and Cutter getting such high grades. Give some credit there to the defensive line.
Yes.
We had talked about during that 2-game losing streak, the defensive line had to reemerge like it was during the 4. If those linebackers are making a lot of plays and tackles for losses and tackles, period, that probably means your defensive line is doing a good job up front. So I think that's been noticeable these last 2 games with your defensive line returning, not only getting pressures, but absorbing some blocks up front and letting those linebackers turn loose a little bit. So credit to them. Mike Lockhart was a good example the other night. He was excellent again. He's had a really good year.
Yes.
Lockhart has.
Let's expand on defensive line. When this was August and we were getting out of camp and we heard Andrew Jackson, the line coach, and Neil say this, we're going to rotate. We could rotate 8 or 9 guys. We all looked at each other and went, oh, dear, sweet mercy. They don't have a defensive line. There's no one that's good, and so they're just going to play a bunch of guys, and it's just going to be this, slap it together thing. Instead, I can't remember when you've had that many guys that don't set you back when they go out there. And last night, you saw Asani Redwood, you saw Hammond Russell. These guys are still babies in the program, and those guys will become the future going forward. So that's a huge shout out to them. You don't get the success that the D-backs and Beanie Bishop have had and Malachi Ruffin have had without those guys, being really, really good for the most part of the season.
And every one of them has contributed. We've called their names at every point. I mean, you're talking Jalen Thornton, even Day Hawkins has played and been good. Mulba, Durajaye have been really good. And then you're just starting to mix guys in. Tyron Bradley was around a lot. You saw the 8 a lot last night, just around the ball. I think I mentioned him and Russell, 3rd highest graded defender. If I didn't, should have.
No.
He had a nice game. Very good. So I think overall, that defensive line is helping drive these things again, which helps this team significantly.
Unwrap sweet rewards with Gomart this holiday season. Sweeten your day with bonus points with each purchase of specially marked M&M's products at Gomart's during Winterland. Plus, earn Winterland game tokens with the purchase of each product. From November 1 to December 31, collect all 5 game tokens for 2,500 bonus points. And the best part, there's no limit how many times you can do it. Don't let this magical offer melt away. Visit the Gomart app or Gomart.com to learn more. Plus, I didn't notice this. Remember I've been talking about these triple rewards points at Gomart if you use your card? That's Tuesdays and Saturdays.
You just said Saturday.
I said, yeah, I used to, but then I went to Tuesday. Now I realize it's Tuesdays and Saturdays, triple rewards points at the Gomart.
Okay, that's the highlights I have for you.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
To no surprise, right?
No surprise.
No surprise.
No surprise. You have a performance like that, you're going to have some good numbers to talk about.
Mm-hmm. You going to do this in basketball too?
Yeah, I might even have more in the weeds good stuff in basketball.
What does that mean?
Well, I just might.
A new service?
I've got some stuff. By the way, speaking of thanks to Sports Info Solutions, friends over there doing a fine job with their platform.
How many services do you use to put those together? What you just do there?
Some.
What does that mean?
Some.
Started just as Brad bringing in a couple of numbers. All of a sudden, this thing is diversified to, just no limits. You get this services cost money?
Sure they do.
Do a tremendous job.
Or
We'll just go right to the numbers. There's a lot of good stuff out there.
Spreads on Stats brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. They give you value beyond the numbers. If you're a business owner looking for that organization that can do everything you need to do from a number standpoint, audit and assurance, tax planning, preparation, consulting, they got you. Conley CPA Group.
There's a reason why the head football coach meets every Thursday with the analytics staff and does a deep dive into the numbers.
He does. Yeah, he does. He's a numbers guy. He likes it. You and he ever talk about that stuff?
I have a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably more of an off season. Need to get over there off season. Have an in-depth conversation.
Yeah. They do some stuff. Yeah, they do some stuff. What do you say we do this thing now? Oh.
Any more coffee?
Yeah. This is Textual Healing, brought to us by, come on over, episode800.com. I'm pouring hop right now. We have our new coffee from Mountaineer Roasters. It's a light blend. You get the last drop, dog. There you go. So there it is, right there. That's going to be available for sale. It's part of our holiday gifts. That be it. It's Mountaineer Roasting here in Morgantown. It's called Game Day Grind. It's a light roast, which gives the flavors of chocolate and caramel. It's balanced. I shared it with these boys before the show started, and it's really good, and that's going to debut on November 15th when we open our holiday store. What?
Has a new logo on there too.
Yes, it does. We got a new
designed by
why are you laughing over there?
a student over at the college.
Why are you laughing?
Yeah, why are you laughing?
What made you funny? What
My
there?
wife gets a million holiday catalogs. I think there should be a catalog.
Well,
and then
we
all the
won't-
stuff for the holidays.
We won't print it, but it'll be online.
It'll be an online
We're going to have a
catalog.
holiday store at episode800.com. You'll be able to get this, among other items. And
New merchandise coming soon with that new logo.
new merchandise, and this coffee's really good. So,
It is good.
what goes well with coffee?
Pie.
Pie.
Yeah, lots
I got to give a shout out to this dude. Oh, I'll drop this. This guy went above and beyond. So
Mike.
We got contacted this past week by a gentleman that's a listener, and his family owns and runs Laurel Mountain Inn in Belington, which is home, of course, of Josh Yeager, the Belington Bomber.
Correct.
And Laurel Mountain Inn is known for home-style cooking, and you don't see this on boxes often, homemade pies, right? You don't see it enough. You don't see it. So he said, I'd love to make you guys a pie. And so I said, okay. So they got regular and sugar-free pies. And family-owned and operated since 1991. As I always say, if you're in business for more than a decade, you're doing really, really well. So he brought these Bozo Berettis a pie last night, and then he delivered this.
Don't drop it, because I'd like to try some.
I just lost my headset. He delivered this to the press box, and I, who've oftentimes been chastised for not bringing in the stuff that I get, put it in the refrigerator in the booth.
Yeah, you did. Nice job.
Then brought it home last night, put it in my garage refrigerator, and so that I wouldn't forget it, I put my car keys in the refrigerator so I knew that when I had to come today, it would be here. And that is an absolute coconut cream pie.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm cutting this bad boy, so you guys keep
Yeah,
talking.
go ahead. Oh, I will, because I think this is one of those situations. Sometimes Hoppy, he forgets that we have a microphone as well.
Right.
So he can't just spew his narrative and there's not a comeback like a lot of times what he does. So I do give him credit. He did get his pie and kept it. That's an upset. Because earlier in the day, when Mike made contact about bringing a pie over, he pulled his usual self and just said, yeah, bring it to the press box. Didn't ask us what we wanted. So
we're in a different location.
Different location. We're not available. Didn't ask what kind we wanted, which is why he ended up with coconut, which is fine. I'll eat that too. But give a lot of credit to Mike and his family, who persevered through Caridi's selfishness and found out where we were and made a second trip over with a special delivery Reese peanut butter chocolate pie, brought that to our location. Whole family came over. Went down, met him during a broadcast. Wonderful, Mike. Mike and his family. Tremendous. So Caridi tried to screw us out of a pie. Mike persevered, got us one. We had that last night during our broadcast. It was excellent.
Thank you.
So thanks, Mike.
Thank
Laurel
you,
Mountain
Mike and
Inn,
family.
Belington, West Virginia. Check them out if you're in the area.
Woo.
Is it good?
You want a piece?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Do I want a piece?
Well, that's good. Wow.
Although I had about 3 pieces of the chocolate peanut butter last night, so.
We're still on the air. Keep talking. Keep going.
That's very good. Hey, okay, I'll bring up something. Well, I shouldn't do while meeting.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's a podcast.
Let me get a drink first.
It's a podcast.
So, as you know, the officials were very busy last night. What they 20?
Very busy. 2 teams that were in the top 15 least penalized teams in America, BYU and West Virginia, just played a game
Excuse me.
that now has an FBS record for the season in number of penalties called.
Is it a record? Is it?
That was the record for the season so far.
20?
Two teams that top 15, Kirchhoff, least penalized teams, now own the record for most penalties in a game. Hope that crew has some film study today.
Well, I will say that on the first possession by West Virginia, two pass interference calls against BYU.
Those were excellent. Those were excellent calls.
Those were. But
What did we say when that happened, though?
we said, "Uh-oh, here we go."
There's going to be a lot of
There's gonna
calls
be a lot of
tonight.
flags.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's what Neil Brown said about the negative, about the penalties. He said, most of them were legitimate. That's what he said. And, Tony, there were like 5 procedural calls, something
Might have
like
been
that.
6.
And so he was asked about that. He said his quote was, BYU does a shift right before the snap. Okay? So it was clearly trying to, I think, gingerly suggest that shift was causing West Virginia to commit procedure penalties. I looked up the rule. This is dangerous because I don't completely know if I'm right here about this. But if the defensive line, of course, the defensive line can move around, but if they quote threatens an offensive lineman, causing an immediate reaction before the ball is snapped, that's a violation. So there are certain things you, as a defensive line, that you can't do. I mean, you can't obviously mock the snap count, that kind. You can't yell stuff out. You can't do that, even though that gets done a lot. And I'm not sure. I'd like to hear from an official. I need to do more research. I'm not sure if you can do like a huge shift just before the snap that might suggest that the snap has happened. Do you follow me on that?
I do.
Am I right or wrong about that?
There's something called disconcerting signals, which basically you're clapping your hands. You're trying to get them to jump. And I talked to Wyatt Milam after the game, and he indicated that wasn't – it was on them.
Oh, okay.
It was, again, West Virginia was screwing the thing up, and he said, I had a couple. But you're always going to get a little bit of that. But that was weird. To me, the thing that crew will be chastised over will be the ineligible man downfield. Not that it wasn't the correct call, but the adjudication of it took so long. And they had to go to that replay, and it literally took minutes and minutes to get it done. That's what they'll be chastised for by their supervisor, going like, boys, you got an ineligible downfield. You know where the line of scrimmage was with the 27. Bring it back. What are we doing?
Among other things, Neil's very good at telling you what's happened and what he's thinking in press conferences.
Yes.
You also know you get fined for talking about officiating, right?
Yes. So
you also get fined for talking about officiating. You know that, right?
Yes. Okay.
So in a 37-7 game, there's no need to talk about the officiating, so I will. There's also some of those pass interference calls that we have seen way more contact.
No
and some of them went in West Virginia's favor, so take it and move on. There was one of the hits on Garrett Green. I mean, Garrett's not even in his full slide yet. I mean, there was some that crew's got some film study work to do. I'll leave it at that. Didn't affect the game. West Virginia's fine. Obviously blew them out. Those two teams should not have played a game which sets an FBS record for the season in penalties.
That crew was here for the Texas Tech game, and they called the most penalties of the season until last night.
Really? And look, even I know what you're saying on the slide on Garrett Green. I get that. I just think that again, if you look, I looked at the rules again today. What's the number one point of emphasis, Tony? Concussion protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So
he wasn't in a full slide.
I know. I just think when there's if they're going to default, they're going to default to the protecting the player. A defenseless player. So I think that's what happens in those cases.
Then in the coming weeks, I'll point out the number of times when a guy goes into a slide, gets hit, and there's no call.
Fair.
So I'll go ahead and point that out.
I understand.
There'll be way more of those coming.
I understand.
They've got to get some consistency. That was just not it. The crew did not do a good job last night, period. Move on. Next subject.
The next subject is Mike from the Pies. You know I'm a food snob, right?
Yes.
Well documented.
That was better than he promised. That was better than he promised.
So he underpromised and overproduced?
I would drive to Belington to eat there.
Oh. Those are a good pie. I mean, they're really good.
Chocolate peanut butter last night was excellent.
I might sleep all the time at the Laurel Mountain Inn. Is that an inn too, or is it just a restaurant?
Oh, that's a good question.
That was really, dude. That was awesome. Thanks so much for your work. Okay, so here's
and for running all around town. This podcast has taken a turn, though.
What?
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, we're just sitting here on a Sunday morning having coffee and pie while talking about football. Pretty good setup.
It is.
It's three old men. I'll go meet you at 10:30 on Sunday. I'll bring the coffee. I'll bring the pie.
I'll bring a big piece of peach
I'll
cobbler.
go talk about football game from last night.
Big piece of peach cobbler. All right, let's do this thing.
Coffee.
Before the show, we don't talk about what we're going to say, as you probably know. So, so this will be the last time that we read a poem that was developed by artificial intelligence. New policy. I'm going to read it one last time. Scopes unfold, spreads in the night. Triple H echoes a rhythmic delight. Big Z speaks. Morgantown's voice bright and poetic whispers a tale. Takes flight from Morgantown's heart, a jig unfold. Donaldson Green, tales to be told. Hayes' precision turning silver to gold. WVU's triumph, a story to be bold. Tony may doubt my jig's skillful grace, but results speak louder, setting the pace. Neil Brown off the hot seats embrace. Bowl eligible, a joyous race. Scoreboard ablaze, cheers in the air, white rushing beyond compare. Oklahoma beckons, a challenge to bear. In this jig, triumph and victory we declare. So Hoppy is questioning the authenticity of the authorship, and as a result, that will be our final AI poem.
That was a pretty good poem, though.
Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's pretty
Guys,
good.
I mean, I wrote him back, and I said, roses are red, violets are blue. I like your poem.
Did you use AI to generate that?
No, I did it myself. Hi, three guys. This is Caitlin from Utah. I currently live in Robinson, Illinois. Married in listener, first-time texter, wife of Shane from Morgantown. I have to say, thanks to the team and the WVU community for an amazing game and trip to the wild and wonderful Morgantown. Thoroughly enjoyed tailgating, the man trip, cheering on the Mountaineers, and, of course, singing Country Roads, the icing on the cake. As a Utah native and Utes fan, my mom taught me to cheer for anyone but BYU. I was the black sheep and a big disappointment when I chose to be a Cougar. Happy to report I've come a long way from those days. I now understand why 90% of my husband's wardrobe is WVU apparel. And I even shocked my parents with my knowledge of players as we discussed the game. Here we are with some good Utah folks. See there, Hop?
Yeah.
We met in our section, who also came to cheer against BYU. So you got Utah
that's a
fans.
good rivalry.
That
I
is.
like that.
So they came to cheer against BYU. I'm happy to report you all have made an official Mountaineer out of me. And so, Adriana, if you would go through a couple more of those pictures. Here they are in the crowd last night with their gear, and then here they were when they were in Utah, right there with Utah gear on. What they were doing, they're doing that thing like Michigan's guy was out there. They were illegally scouting a future conference.
I don't think they were doing
a future
that.
conference. Well, it's the same thing.
I don't know that they were doing that.
They dress up in the school colors. They're in there scouting for West Virginia.
They didn't have military-grade video surveillance equipment or anything like that.
Oh, okay. So in that case, we'll just let them go. Well, Caitlin, I'm delighted that you guys had a wonderful time.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
I give Caitlin credit. How about she leads with married-in listener, first-time texter. That was very good. Married-in listener.
Here we go.
Real quick, give some credit to those BYU fans.
Yes.
They were very good, right? Filled up their sections.
I like them a lot. Here's why I like them. I like them because they care.
Yeah.
That's why I like them. They care. I like teams that have schools that care. Their fans care.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very passionate, and that's awesome. And obviously it doesn't hurt. I mean, it doesn't hurt to carry the state's flag when you come onto the field. You're bringing the West Virginia flag out there with you.
BYU did.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've done that each stop in the Big 12. Like, they get it from a marketing standpoint. Like, that's a good move.
And then the team stayed on the field for the singing of Country Roads. I don't remember seeing that.
That's true. They did.
That's pretty cool.
You know, in the alumni groups, Tony, they tied in with a lot of with West Virginia University. They did a book drive.
Yep.
So that's a good team to have in this league,
Yep.
and I think that could be a good rivalry that develops over the
like
years.
them. Now, I will tell you this. When we go to Provo, they'll be waiting on our ass.
Yeah, that's a tough place to play.
You know, they will, and that's a program. I mean, last night, I think, is what's happened to them now is a bit of an aberration. I mean, Brad, they have a long tradition and a great tradition and great fan support. They'll get it back.
They'll be a factor in this league.
Yeah,
I mean, mark that down. Again, you're seeing this, and people say it all the time, and I think fans just dismiss this a lot, and media, we dismiss this a lot. That's a hard upgrade. Even for a BYU that's played a pretty significant schedule, probably a more difficult schedule over time than the other new teams in this league, that's still a difficult grind. It's the grind is the thing that people always have said. It's not the one-off. And we saw that at West Virginia. It's not one-off situations. Most people can hang with anybody. It's the week after week, and I think BYU just saw that. The difficult travel against two good teams in a league, that's hard to do, man.
And then, I mean, if they, like you said, they were at Texas. They had to fly back. Then they came in on Thursday. I'd like to know. You can't quantify it, but certainly it was a factor.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine. You know why?
Why?
Because they got money.
Yeah.
You got money. You got NIL. You got NIL. You can go get players. They'll be fine.
And care.
Yeah.
They care. Their fan base cares. That's generally a good recipe.
And by the way, it's not like, as you said, Hoppy, that they're starting from scratch. They got two quarterbacks that are starting games today in the NFL. Yeah. Okay. John from Alabama writes in, hello, update on my 10-year-old son, Tate. Remember he was going to bring him to the game? He was going to wine and dine him?
Yeah.
He's locked in now as a Mountaineer for life. What a weekend and what a victory. There he goes.
Oh, look, Coliseum shot.
Pac-Man Fox had the night off, but Stedman Fox balled out. See the pictures. So there he is. Evans scored.
Nice.
He even scored.
Got a Heisman pose there?
It looks like it.
Yeah. He even scored a glove from one of the players post-game while singing Country Roads.
Oh, nice.
By the way, had 2 Kirchevels at Kegler's. Impressive beer. Love the show. Let's go Mountaineers. Now, who had the beers? With the kid or the dad?
Well, now,
Dad.
Tony.
Oh, the dad did?
Dad
did.
Okay.
Well, he
That's
got
a nice
glove
trip
out of
right
that.
there.
First trip to Mountaineer Field and you get a glove. I think the dad's right. He's locked in.
He's locked.
You get one of those?
He's
You
out
get,
there.
you get a win, you get a glove, you get a Kirchhevel. I mean,
Good for him.
you're checking a lot of boxes there.
Yeah.
Well done.
Texter, I found the reaction to West Virginia's new football conference schedule surprising. The conference in the last 2 years has now added 8 teams, 5 in Mountain Time or whatever weird clock thing Arizona does. Being surprised by the schedule is like taking a job that's 85% travel and then wondering why your boss is mad when he keeps seeing you in the office. To his point, there's going to be a lot of travel when you have teams all over the place. Yeah, I get it. Tony, Hoppy, Brad, congratulations, episode 500. You guys do a fantastic job. The discussion about Shaq at the UCF victory, thanks for having us, reminded me of this photo my wife took of me and Shaq the year that he played at the Greenbrier Classic Pro-Am. Look, Hop, you know who that is there? His left hand was like an octopus on my shoulder. Keep up the great work. Go Ears. You know who that is, Hop?
Who is that?
Tom in Charleston. Hoppy, a few years back, you and I discussed a lawsuit where I had my client sue a football coach who made a Faustian bargain. Tom Flaherty.
Oh, it's Tom Flaherty. I couldn't tell from that picture. Yeah, sure.
Hey, Tom's not a small. I mean, not a teeny guy. Like old Shaq got him under the armpit.
By the way, credit to Tom, not only for the picture, great picture, Tom, but the getting Faustian bargain back in there
Yes.
again,
Yes,
keeping
good
that
job,
alive.
Tom.
Well done, Tom.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tom and
Faustian
Shaq.
bargain.
Not the Jerry Faustian bargain.
Not Jerry and Faust, of course.
Although it's interchangeable. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
It's not even.
Just
it's
go
not,
with me, it
It's
is.
not even in the same universe.
All right, fine.
You still don't understand, do you?
No. Okay, so now let me go back.
All right.
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but when I was saying, yeah, that was like when Notre Dame did a stupid thing and they took a high school coach and as a result they suffered after that. That was my thing, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I get you.
All right.
This is Corey from Salt Lake City.
But it's different.
If we're using Pac-Man Fox, how about if we use a Aaron Beasley Beanie Bishop combo? Beasley Bishop. I like that.
Brad will probably effort that. Brad comes up with some good ones. I mean, so far we've only done. Have we done anybody else?
No, it's only just Pac-Man Fox and Stedman Fox.
Oh, Lee Wiley.
Grant Coba out there making plays.
Um,
Don't forget about old Zach Moses there anchoring the offensive line.
Hey, guys, I work for a home remodeling company in the D.C. area, so I'm constantly driving around. The other day, I visited a house located in a neighborhood that was behind the local community college. As I turned into that neighborhood, I noticed all the streets were named after colleges. So I turned onto Rutger Street, onto Yale Place, onto Fordham Street, went past Auburn Avenue, only to arrive at my destination at the customer's home located on Pitt Court, clearly regrettably named after the Pitt. The customers could not have been nicer, had no way of knowing that their unfortunate luck of living on a street with that name. But as I left their home and drove down the street, I turned on a Sweet Caroline in my car and made sure to roll down the window so that I could appropriately serenade the neighborhood. By the way, I love the episode with Charles Wesley Godwin. Really looking forward to this basketball season. I'm ready for Coach Eilert and the guys to shock the world and hoping for a great first season for Coach Kellogg as well. Let's go Mountaineers. Dan in Damascus, Maryland.
Rutgers.
It was a big conversation point at 1:30 yesterday afternoon, as Rutgers was leading at halftime.
Yeah,
Gave
Rutger.
Ohio State all they wanted.
Yeah, Rutger. Coach Rutger had to
Hey,
make
our guy Charles Wesley Godwin sideline appearance. He's 1-0 on the sideline this season.
undefeated on the sideline.
Mm-hmm. Of course he is.
His
Correlation, not
Hoppy,
causation.
you really missed a good show.
I'm sorry about that. I was out of town.
He was
My
off.
apologies.
Yeah, he was off
He was
the chart good.
Well, you upgraded then. I was gone. He was in.
You and he have something in common.
What's that?
You now have both been featured on CBS Saturday Morning. He performed on it yesterday.
He's a little bit bigger deal.
He is. And he was outstanding. He blowed it up.
Did he?
And in the classic West Virginia connection story, he was introduced by one of the hosts on the program, CBS Saturday Morning, Dana Jacobson,
Former ESPN.
former ESPN anchor, now works at CBS Morning, who went to high school with Brad.
Really? Always a connection.
Always a connection.
Always an Iowa connection.
Did he wear an Efforting shirt?
No. Man, you got to go back. I taped it.
I will. Okay.
Dude, I'm just telling you what, those guys are going to blow. They're blowing up as we speak.
Yes.
I mean, I think now it's going to be one of those things where, like, he said he was watching the Grammy Awards and said, you know what? I think that would be fun. I could do that. This is while he's in college. He said, I think I could do that. I think one day he's on there. There you go. Here's my prediction.
Okay.
I think one day he's on there.
Another plug. If you haven't, I know that's gotten thousands of downloads already. If you haven't, you have to go back and listen to it. You can skip through the preview part and listen to the interview on him. I'm still blown away. I must have told 50 people this week about his story getting into music is absolutely incredible. I can't get over that.
He's a finance major, and he's watching. He's going like, never sang.
Didn't play an instrument until he got to college. Didn't even know he could sing until he got to college.
He said, I want to do that. He said, I want to do that. Goes buys a guitar.
Wow. Interesting.
Oh,
Great story.
quick question, gentlemen. I've heard conspiracy theories saying that Bob Huggins is behind a lot of the issues that's been happening to basketball. These days, you don't know what's true and what's not. What's your opinion?
What do you mean things? I mean players?
Eligibilities and stuff.
Well, I would say the answer is no.
Yeah, I think conspiracies are just that, conspiracy theories.
I've heard
Just leave
nothing
it
to
at that.
indicate there's any truth to
No,
that.
I know. No, it just like it makes. I shake my head, knowing what's coming in basketball,
It's gonna be tough.
schedule-wise, and where we are right now. That's what makes me upset and bothered.
We were talking yesterday on our show, Brad. I mean, Josh Eilert, again, he's been magnificent, I think, in how he's handled everything. And has he had a lot of darts thrown at him early?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Darts. It's like he's standing on the bottom of a mountain. They just keep pushing these massive boulders down. Like, here, get out of the way of that one. Hey, get out of the way of that one. 8 players on scholarship going into tomorrow's season opening game.
Or like Sisyphus, he pushes the boulder up the hill and it rolls back down.
Yeah.
He pushes the boulder up the hill and rolls back down.
Against a good Missouri State
really?
team. Yes, a good Missouri State team that's experienced and 3 starters back and a transfer portal guy from Arkansas that got named preseason all-conference. You better buckle it up.
Oh.
Don't just think, oh, it's the first game of the season. You're just going to roll out there and get them. You got to play. I'm just telling you what. Every single time it goes up, you better play.
Brad, is there a line on that game?
Yeah, I think West Virginia's favored by 7 at this point, at least yesterday, last I saw it.
Texter. Jeremy from Cooperstown. I made my annual trek from upstate New York to Morgantown yesterday. 7 hours, 3 minutes, record time. Q Country Roads. Great show with Charles Wesley Godwin. 2 full hours of entertainment on my drive. Check this picture out I took this morning on my run in the blue lot. Let's go, boys. Let's get
wow.
bowl eligible. Look at that shot.
It's gorgeous.
That looks like a Utah sun.
Well
you see
done.
some of those in Utah there.
Nice
Absolutely beautiful. Yep.
And how about yesterday? Was yesterday a perfect day?
Awesome.
Great fall football day.
Yeah.
Hi, my husband, Cameron, is a huge fan of your show and will make me listen any chance he gets. I've heard about textual healing, so I wanted to text into him to wish him a happy Veterans Day and give him a shout-out for being an incredible husband. Hi, B. Hope you're having a great day. Your favorite wife, Sophie.
That was nice.
Yeah, his favorite wife.
Awesome.
Yeah. Veterans Day coming up on the 11th hour, 11th day, 11th month.
Texter says this. Please bring back the Always a West Virginia Connection hats. Talking about episode 800 website.
Okay.
Do we not sell those anymore?
I don't know. Maybe
What?
sold out.
Well, you're an apparel guy.
Maybe in your Christmas
Yeah, when we
catalog.
open up our holiday store.
Work on that. Working on adding some additional hats as well.
Yeah, we get the new logo.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really nice.
How much stuff is actually for sale?
A lot.
What do you mean?
I've never looked at it.
Stunner.
Yeah, that's a shock.
Stunner. Shocked. Imagine that.
I'm waiting for
Partial.
my holiday catalog in the mail.
Javi's going like, I've never been to the website, but I tell you what, that royalty check would certainly be nice about now. I do get a third, correct?
Haven't seen that either.
Enjoying my Courchevel with my brother tailgating at the BYU game. Thanks, Tony, for buying our first one at the Three Guys tailgate. We just walked to Kroger's to get us a 4-pack. Enjoy my time listening with you guys twice a week on my way from Morgantown to Philippi. Signed from the Lear South Coal Miner. Those guys are great guys.
Great. We had fun talking with them.
Yeah, good dudes. Oh, here we go. P1 Jason in Tulsa. Hey, guys, glad to see the NCAA has decided to use WVU home night games to let people off the street try out being an official for the night.
Ouch.
I literally see fewer flags during a round of golf. I don't really mind it this time because I'm happy for a lopsided Mountaineer win to go on for 4 hours. I'm anxious for the Senators' analysis of the post-game grades. Is there any kind of adjusted grade for the offensive line that takes into account how good the opposing defensive line is? I'm just wondering if our O-line was that good or if their D-line was that bad, because I could have gone for 100 yards with some of those holes even if I was still on my walker. I love the show.
There was one of the penalties where it was a great shot because afterward it was all over, like an official was over, and he was picking up flags. It was like he was picking up trash.
It was like a pile.
It was a pile of flags.
Literally.
Yeah.
Didn't bend over to pick up his or his buddies and flip
No,
it back
no,
up.
it was like
1, 2,
2,
3, 4.
How about that? Hey, best flag of the night. What was the best flag of the night?
You mean? How do you mean best?
What was the best flag of the night thrown?
Define best.
The best flag of the night.
No,
for
what
West
do you mean? Like The
I'll
worst
tell you
call
what,
or the best call?
The one no one saw was sitting on the 20-yard line on that 90-yard kickoff return touchdown.
True that.
I didn't see it. Did you guys see it?
See it. It came after the celebration. Team celebrated the end zone. They're cutting away to the sideline. Guys are pulling the pads out, the iPads out there to look at the breakdown and cover. All of a sudden, flag, hold on the play.
I didn't see it either.
Poor Kalani Sitake absolutely lost his mind. I don't blame him. That was a late call. Didn't see it.
Away from the play.
Did it fall out of the guy's pocket? And he didn't want to go back on it at that point.
I think also if you're BYU at that point, you just go like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
That's how it's going to go tonight.
Yeah, exactly. If they
That's
ever
a great
needed,
call. That was weird.
if they ever needed this is not your night. That was not your night call.
Yeah, because that would have been that started the second half. That might have been like something they could build on, and you know.
I'm not exaggerating when I say that. They were cutting away to shots of the guys on the sideline, not the celebration in the end zone. Sideline, helmets off, guys celebrating.
Well, the same, dude. Okay, you got that one. Listen, you got that one. How about the ineligible man downfield? They're ready to snap the next play off. They're in formation, and the officials just stand there like, okay, here we go. We're going to have the snap, and the guy just sits there on the line, just goes, throws the flag, and I'm thinking, well, it's a legal procedure. Hey, come back, ineligible man downfield from the last play.
The best call, which was actually the best call, was, and our poor friend Brandon Yates, where Yates pulled and he was halfway down the line.
That one was probably valid. They
probably
might have got that one right.
He didn't jump. He was pulling.
They were asking him to pull. He needed to get a head start. I get it.
But you know what Steve Dunlap said, which was a great point, is that, West Virginia pulls so much, Tony, that,
Sometimes you got to get it there early.
Get a little head start. That's all right.
Texter says, this is a season of firsts. In my nearly 35 years of watching football, I don't think I've seen 2 defensive line holding calls, but I saw 2 in the same game this year. Last night, I saw a penalty called 12 seconds into the play clock for the next play. Has anyone ever in the history of Slim Jims, fax machines, and pontoon boats combined ever seen a penalty called on the previous play? If we can do this, how about go back and call all 46 fouls against Kelly Oubre?
Kelly Oubre. Former Kansas player who's in about his 8th year in the league. That's an elite text. That's an elite text.
He didn't even identify.
You got to sign that. That's a great text.
Kelly Oubre. Sweet mercy.
Hey, is there any way to follow up on those officials? Not to all due respect.
I'll ask. Yeah, there will be. I'll do as well as I can sniffing around to see if there was any things. But again, so Neal did not blast them by one bit.
Well, you wouldn't. You wouldn't.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe Kalani Sitake
might.
Maybe he'll wonder out loud.
Yeah.
And they'll just give him welcome to the Big 12. Who knows?
Well, again, Neil Brown said most of the calls were. But again, you win by 30, so.
Unbelievable special. Unbelievable weekend weather. Unbelievable special at Lou Wendell Marine Sales. Let's take a look at the special tri-tune boat that we've got, the Avalon 23rd 85, and it is a special 3 guys opportunity for you. This beautiful craft is a 2023 with a Honda 150 motor and trailer. You can do anything on that. Fish, water ski, tubing,
wakeboard,
entertain,
jump off the front, do a cannonball,
entertain family and friends,
go off the back and cannonball,
put a slip slide on the back and go right in that water.
Just slide into the water gracefully if you want.
But here's the
deal. We have
deal.
to list everything you can do on that, or
nah, that was pretty good.
No,
ramming speed.
Turn that music up.
But just remember this: if you are interested in purchasing this
awning up or down
special craft, you got a lot of nice round seating on that thing. I mean, you can spin around that thing.
Power steering.
Yeah, it's got it's nice.
Table for your drinks.
It's available for $89,774.
Side door open or closed.
But if you do go there, please tell them you're asking for the 3 guys
automated
special.
Parking.
2023 Avalon 2385 Entertainer.
Right in front of the driver's side there. These are nice when it comes in. You got that little. It's like a built-in recliner.
Really?
See, there's a little dark gray and then the lighter gray, right?
Yeah.
You just lay back on the dark gray where your head goes. It's just naturally reclined.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Hey, 3 goofs.
That's a prime spot on the Ponte.
Is it?
Sure, I don't want a prime spot right
Hey, Three Goofs, I was listening to the 24-hour radiothon prior to the game and heard the Three Guys commercial that says you guys will take our calls, tweets, and text. Did I miss something during your podcast? I watch on YouTube's, and I love the show. Jim in Morgantown. No, we don't do any of that. That commercial was cut about 6 years ago.
Old promo.
We used to do phone calls and have them recorded, and I'd go in there and edit it, and don't do that anymore. That was signed by Robin and Frostberg.
We got to get that updated.
Yeah, probably. In-game text. BYU fans showed up and are noticeably louder than other fan bases. I haven't heard another fan group close to this loud during the home game since joining the Big 12. Let's go Mountaineers. Texter says, in-game text alert, Tony gets his nighttime sack, and it was magnificent. Texter, Hoppy, Senator Scopes, episode 501, a texter said he missed Tony's Sean McDonough impersonation. All he has to do is listen to Tony's call of the game, and every once in a while that Syracuse broadcasting voice comes in. Makes me laugh every time. I'm an over-the-road truck driver, so I get to listen on Sirius, signed by Frank in Clarksburg.
Tony?
Don't know what he's referring to. 1st and 10. I did turn the TV on yesterday, and I saw that Sean was doing the Clemson game against Notre Dame.
I stayed on it just because he was doing the game.
Well-known Catholic institution located in South Bend with great tradition.
Dabo
Sweeney certainly took some criticism this week and fired back. In-game text from the stadium. Hey, BYU, been nice having you. Texter.
Thanks for coming.
Scope spreads, hopefully Hoppy. Long-time listener, 0 for 1 on as a texter. In other words, he might have texted but not get read. As our beloved Mountaineers don the American flag, state outline helmets tonight, I can't help but to think of what this podcast did for me in my last deployment last year to the Middle East. There were many long shifts, staring into the desert, missing my wife, my friends, my family, and my kids, and our beloved state. This podcast made me feel as if I were home. Thank you all for bringing home to me in the form of this podcast while so far away. Love the podcast. Keep up the great work. And we'll see you next year in Pittsburgh for the Three Guys Tailgate, signed by Timbo from Macon.
That's awesome.
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
He's doing the real work. We're just three clowns here having pie.
Yeah, I saw someone at Neil's talk show the other night, and they said, I listened to you, and they were out of the country, like really somewhere. And I was like, great. Appreciate that. Scopes unfold, spreads in the night. Triple H echoes, a rhythmic delight. Oh, this was just a piece of the poem that got read before. Never mind. Beautiful win. White turning into something special. Great compliment to CJ and GG. The O chopped wood. The D laid wood. Chris from Marietta. Hey, Three Guys. Awesome game. Just want to give a shout out to Gresso's in Columbus, Ohio. A Mountaineer strong in the land of the Buckeyes. Great place to watch the game. Signed by Ronan, yeah. So Gresso's is a Mountaineer deal in Columbus.
Oh,
and
okay.
Eric's here. He lives here, but back and forth the whole deal. But, yeah, that's really good. They're a big Mountaineer haven there. Jeff from Tampa watching the game on TV. BYU had many players with a C on their upper right corner of their jerseys. I can only assume that means captain. The number of players with the C was in double digits by my count. Any story here? Why so many captains?
They do have a lot of captains, right?
They have
like
8.
8? Okay.
They have 8 captains. It wasn't double figures, Jeff, but they do have 8 captains. Let's go, Mountaineers, says this texter. No shave equals a win again. I hope Coach Kalani enjoyed country roads. Brad was wondering who I was last week. Jeff from Lumberport. P.S. I'm still looking for a hanky on episode800.com. Still efforting on that. Hoppy? Well, you've never gone to the website. Brad, make a note. We need to get the hankies.
Get the hanky on there.
For when we do
Holiday.
when we open up the holiday gifts.
Holiday gift store.
Texter. Not going to lie, when I heard a backup QB was starting, I got an uneasy feeling, thanks to the likes of Jed Duffy and Henry Colombi. Fortunately, it worked in the good guys' favor. Hey, I've got a question inquiring minds want to know. When Green, Donaldson, White, and Johnson walk around, do they habitually go to the left? I hit send on this knowing that my funny may indeed fall flat. Oh, well, it was a win without the elevated blood pressure, Sean and Raleigh. Yeah.
You know what you saw last night, and I think it speaks to the character of this team, you just see a lot of good vibration on that sideline. I mean, it helps when you're winning, obviously, but Green even when Green's out of the game, he stays very engaged. it just looks like a place where people are happy with what they're doing, and that means something.
You know, I will say this. Good joke there by the texter. I get it. Who was that? Sean.
Jeff and Lumber. Oh, Sean and Raleigh going left, yeah.
So I get it. And this team's been left-handed a lot. C.J. Donaldson was very effective to the left side. 210 yards coming to the right last night, though.
Huh?
They also banged him to the right-hand side. Had some big runs there. 37-yarder, an 18-yarder, a 23-yarder. So some of those big plays actually came right. So credit to the entire offensive line last night.
Texter says, which one does not belong? Bruce Arians, A.J. in historic South Park, Jaheim White, or Tony Caridi? The obvious answer, Tony Caridi, the only one who did not reach the top by the way of York, Pennsylvania, a football and P1 listener hotbed. Yes, remember I have talked about I thought I had a job in York, Pennsylvania. Then it didn't happen. So Jaheim's from there. I didn't know Bruce Arians was from York, PA.
Didn't either.
Texter, our boys reached the gridiron nirvana. Let's keep it going all the way to Dallas for the Big 12 championship, formerly the real Morgan in Morgantown. Texter, Tony is right. Sacks during night games feel different. Neil has me trusting the climb. Best West Virginia has looked in a long time. Texter, Mark from South Charleston. Tony Brad Charles. I'm sorry, I mean Hoppy. Hello. Quick merch idea for episode800.com. A two-sided shirt. Side A, thanks for having us. Side B, which is accessible by flipping the shirt inside out. Thanks for coming. Take it for what it's worth. Cheers, guys. Let's go Mountaineers. So people are suggesting, what do you say when you win at home? You can't say thanks for having us.
No, thanks for coming is the appropriate response. Thanks for coming. Just say when someone's leaving your house, you always give them thanks for coming.
How about
they respond, thanks for having us.
Could I offer this one as an alternate? Would you go with good to see you? What do you think about good to see you? You're walking away, go, hey, good to see you. That's pretty good too, because that's got that. Anyway. Logan in Greenbrier County writes in. He went to the game. A lot of respect. I got my picture made with the Mountaineer mascot. He's wearing a new quarter zip from Daniels. Great run for the team. There he is. There's our guy. You remember? I believe you talked to him down there in Greenbrier County, Hoppy and Brad and Ronsford. You remember him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
By the way, the Mountaineer beard and mullet, strong this year. I mean, very strong.
That's Michael there, yeah.
His beard is.
Yeah, he got it going.
Yeah.
Tony, in light of our point guard issue, I'm concerned for Brad. Can one of you check on the dollar value of those reading glasses? I know he values his amateur status with fine-looking Phil, but just want to make sure he doesn't get tagged with an impermissible benefit investigation. Charles in Southwest Virginia, you know what he's talking about. You said on the last episode that Phil gave you those glasses, and he does not want you to be the recipient of an impermissible benefit and all of a sudden be suspended from 3 guys.
Yeah, no such thing anymore. You can take whatever you want.
Except you can't.
Unless you play for the Mountaineers.
You tell Kirk Carissa
Unless you play for the Mountaineers.
Yeah.
Texter, my son John and I met the man last night after the game. The special guest, also my other son Silas's first game. There you go. There's up in the crowd, and there's Charles Wesley Godwin. And got another picture there, a little Sparky. There he is.
Good one.
Texter. Tony, Hoppy, Brad, hello. I know how much Tony loves sacks at night, so here's your T-shirt slogan. It's getting late. Time to hit the sack. You can have your crack staff come up with the image. Big win for West Virginia with some nighttime sacks. Brian from Hurricane.
There were a couple times last night in that game where, and I know that we know the BYU couldn't run the ball, but after the ball was snapped, there were 5 Mountaineers in the BYU backfield, Brad. Just like swarming.
Yeah.
Well, you just came back from that safari.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like the wildebeest roaming along on the plains of the Serengeti, and all of a sudden, here come the lions.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's there. Hey, guys, Joe from Barbersville. What's the deal with all these night games? Just saw the schedule for next week, another 7 p.m. game. Can we give spreads a job for Thursday's show? I'd like to know West Virginia's winning percentage in night games, 6 p.m. or later. Most night games played by WVU in one season. And lastly, does Phil see greater revenue at Daniels from night games in Morgantown?
Night games help the Morgantown economy all the way around.
On the other, are you going to accept his other thing? I'm finding. I'll try to find that because
Clothing
Brad's not going to get the.
It's in there in West Virginia.
It's in their game notes, right? Texter, last night I had a friend who texted me a tweet from Florida State's Barstool account. During their game, Florida State Pitt, last night, Florida State played Sweet Caroline. Oh, no, wait. Where was that game? Was that Pitt?
Yeah.
During Saturday's Florida State Pitt game, when they were playing Sweet Caroline at the stadium in Pittsburgh, Florida State fans sang the WVU lyrics. That could catch on then.
Pitt's got some problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
2-7
maybe. I don't know.
something like that.
Texter, they said we would finish 14th, and I took that personally.
From the Jordan
Is
document.
that Jordan?
Yeah, that's good.
How about this one, guys? This will tell you a little bit about travel. Thanks for coming. Had a great time watching our Mountaineers run for 7 yards a carry. It was fun to see a big brand like BYU and Morgantown. This is probably a quiet ride home for them, but hey, it's the new Big 12. So take a look here. That's last night. So they went wheels up at 12:32 this morning, okay? And they were going to get to Provo at 1:48 Mountain. But if you look down on the very bottom between those two blue boxes, do you see what it was going to take them to get through the wind? 4 hours and 16 minutes total flight time.
That's a long flight.
4:16. So you're going into the wind. I say at this time of year, it's stronger. Now, that'll give you a kick on the right way here, but that's a 4 hour and 16-minute flight. That's why when I talked to Ren this past week, in 2025, West Virginia has to go out twice beyond 2 time zones. But they're going to get a double bye that year, and he's been assured that they'll work those games so that they don't.
Does BYU, who do they play next week? Or do they
Iowa State at home. Yeah, Iowa State at home.
That's tough. That's a very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got in from another amazing night in Morgantown. Fans amazing, atmosphere great. BYU faithful that traveled to the game rivaled any team I've ever seen play the old gold and blue. My question is, do you think that one of the reasons the Cougars had so much trouble was the fact that they were not used to heavy air? I'll hang up and listen. The assumed mayor of Eleanor.
Heavy air.
Right? You go out there, it's
holds the ball down.
Light air.
Yeah, it probably got weighted down.
Roger writes.
Air advantage index.
Roger writes, what a treat to get to watch a mostly stress-free game. There was always magic in the stadium for night games, even watching from the frozen tundra of northern Maine. Even had a lot of fun playing the Beanie Bishop minigame of will he get an interception on first down. There were a couple of times he had a great shot at sending Brad into an early retirement from 3 guys.
So close.
And maybe got a little emotional when Burks got the strip in the recovery. Also thankful that the curse of the backup quarterback did not strike again. Tony's call never been more true for me. It was a great night to be a Mountaineer in northern Maine, signed by Roger.
What a great strip by Burks and recovery.
He deserved it.
They not often strip it and clear strip it and then immediately pounce.
And that's different. That's Steve Dunlap on our broadcast. He loves those because that's the defense causes that. You know, that's not just somebody dropped the ball. I mean, that's a guy making a play, making 2 plays. It's big because BYU is driving the score right there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, 3 guys. So I heard BYU ran onto the field carrying the West Virginia flag and then stayed the entire game to sing Country Roads. Is it true? Yes. Is BYU angling to be our conference buddies? I'd certainly welcome it. They seem nice. Granted, that's easy to say after you beat them. That's a good T-shirt idea, especially after a home win. You have a thanks for having us for away and game wins at home. They seem nice. Just a thought. So when you win at home, you wear it. They seem nice. Signed by Professor Vinny. Texter, Scope spreads Dean. Great win last night. Looking forward to another night game in Norman. Question about the game time selection process. How many times a season can the Big 12 use the 6-day window in selecting game times? I think it's like 7-ish, 7, 8, something like that. Thanks as always, and I admit that when I went by Daniels on Friday night, I told my driver, that's where I got some pretty darn good food earlier this season. I think he thought I was nuts because it was empty. I drove by yesterday, too, and our spot was just completely barren, just wisping away in the wind.
There's a couple sad people wandering around.
There wasn't anyone. There's just our logo still on the cement there in the middle of the thing. Hey, Texter, if you guys are going down the NPR route, can I suggest some tote bags in the episode800.com store? Also, I have never been a country music fan, aside from some Johnny Cash.
Hello.
After listening to the last episode, I am now a big Charles Wesley Godwin fan. I even added a few of his songs to my playlist. I love the interview. His story's amazing. I love his love for the old gold and blue. It's infectious. And oh yeah, running the ball all over BYU was a wonderful nightcap, signed by Ben in Chicago. Texter, complete game, dominating win over the Cougs. Neil Brown for president, rising in the polls. Texter, small addition. I think we should get Heisman frontrunner Jaheim White 5 yards over Denard Robinson and then let him play 6 total snaps at quarterback and bring the record back not only home, but to the proper last name. That's a really good text right there.
It's for Pat White, had the all-time rushing yards for a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Denard Robinson was moving up that list, but wasn't going to catch him, and they moved White to running back. Or they moved Robinson to running back and kept adding his accumulated yards while playing the running back position onto his quarterback total. And in one of the great MCA heists, along with the Blitnikoff Award, Big East Player of the Year, not going to Kevin Jones, White no longer the holder for all-time rushing yards by quarterback.
That's just, I don't know how
Criminal.
you do that.
Just criminal.
Speaking of Michigan and Denard Robinson, old Rich gave old South Carolina a scare yesterday, didn't he?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was tied 28-28, Brad, at one point?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they hung right in there. But then old Shane Beamer with a kneel down at the end prevents a cover. They were going in to win there. That USC would have covered that.
Did you watch the end of that? You probably couldn't. Well, you were up because that end of the USC Washington game.
Did not. Fell asleep.
Yeah,
Tired.
It was wild.
Wild game.
Texter, scopes, spreads, and timer. That's you. With win number 6, are we in the territory of starting to talk extension for Neil Brown? I'll say this about that, and it's the same answer I was going to give and think when everyone wanted to have Neil fired. Why don't you just let the season happen and finish? Just breathe. Let the thing happen. See where you are. Fair?
Yeah, I would go farther. And I'm a big Neil Brown fan, and I said before the season began the obvious, which is what I do, that this season would determine his fate. At this point, with the way this team is playing, I don't think there's any discussion anymore. I think it is absolutely, nothing is certain, but I don't think there's any legitimate discussion about whether or not Neil Brown should or will keep his job. It's obvious that he should keep his job, and that will probably include some extension. So I don't think there's any room. I don't think there's any debate right now on that.
Nope.
Totally agree.
Nor is there any discussion. As you said, that's just he's a coach.
Well, my point is,
Not even a question.
everyone losing their mind in the middle of the season. I'm just let it all happen.
I understand, Tony, and that's the practical thing, and that's what Rinbaker said he's going to do. But still, it's a topic, and I was just trying to address the topic, and that's my opinion. That there is no legitimate argument now. There is no legitimate argument to replace him as a head coach. None, zero. Therefore, what's the antithesis of that? And that is now you got to talk about extension.
Yeah, now there's some contract. You got to get down in the weeds on the contract and stuff on that. Because there's some things that are going to come up that are going to be legitimate discussions between Ren and Neil about how that looks.
Yeah.
But he's your coach moving forward. There needs to be something handled there.
Last one. Last call. I love the Charles Wesley Godwin podcast. I saw him in January of 2020. He was opening for Ward Davis. After his set came out, he came out to watch the show. He was standing by himself, so I introduced myself, asked him if I could buy him a beer. He smiled and said, "That would be great." Little did I know that years later he would become my favorite country singer. I wish I had bought him more than one beer to thank him for the hours of happiness he would be providing me through his music. Maybe I'll run into him in Morgantown one day and I can buy him a Kirchhoff Ale. I attached a brilliant rendition on Sundown. He performed that night. Thanks for the great show, Scott in Stafford. So we did get that, but the video wouldn't play. That was almost like a line out of American Pie, but the music wouldn't play.
Seems like that my absence created a great opportunity. It seems like you actually went up a click.
That was a great get. That was a great get. He was really good. Great story.
Yeah, it's you should go back and listen.
Okay. I
seriously.
thought you were going to say go back to Wheeling.
It wasn't just his story was unbelievable, but his story about how he came up with his talking points for the team when he went over to talk the team were really interesting as well. It was a great episode.
Yeah. All right. So Thursday, we're back in here. We're doing our preview for West Virginia and Oklahoma. By then, the basketball team will have played its first game. They go 2 this week. They have Monmouth, King Rice coming in on Friday,
Of course.
and and off we go here.
Yeah.
See what you got.
That's all you can do. All you can do is see what you got. I know they're going to bust it. I know they're going to play hard. Hopefully the pieces will come together. That's all.
Get some pieces. Don't know if you have enough, but you've got some pieces.
Right. Yeah,
Edwards.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Slazinski looked good.
Yeah.
Alfred Neve, I think, is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. I think JoJo Harris could have a good breakout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. See how it all unfolds. Special thanks to those of you that continue to listen for some unknown reason or watch on YouTube. If you would, please subscribe if you are a YouTube regular. That helps us in our algorithms, and more people then are presented the show, and maybe we could gain a few more viewers, which is kind of nice, I think. And also the same deal on the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast. You never miss an episode. About time for a survey. We might need to do a 3-guy survey to make sure we're gauging what people want to hear, what they don't want to hear.
Find out how many people are listening live. Thanks for the pie, too.
Oh, man. Thank you very much.
Mike, Laurel Mountain.
Tremendous.
Excellent.
3 Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. By GoMart, go for good times, go for GoMart. You get a bunch of points, Tuesdays and Saturdays in there. I mean, a bunch of points, triple points. Get your car at gomart.com. Take advantage of that pontoon boat. Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun, award-winning, best in the valley, best in the tri-state. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. And by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. Very special thank you to our producer, Adriana Lenhart.
Great effort.
Tremendous. She got in there, right?
Yeah, well done.
Bunch of pictures.
Yeah.
Handled.
Yeah. It's good, right? We're back out there. She's a student. Yeah. For us to reach back out, get these kids involved. I mean, the Kirchvale label on the beer can, that's a WVU student. The new 3 Guys logo on our Mountaineer Roasters coffee, that's a WVU student. We're using the kids.
We're engaged.
We're engaged,
Future looks bright.
We're the ones that are providing job opportunities to the people in the state of West Virginia.
It's our number one priority. Think about it. First thing I wake up in the morning and last thing at night, jobs, jobs, jobs.
Vote for the 3 Guys platform. You know why? Because we'll bring new jobs into your community. We'll help your young students. We'll make them stay here at home. Vote for Hoppy, Brad, and Tony on the ticket. That's all I got. See y'all on Thursday. Stay safe.